topics today. 2 topics today. First, basic database concepts. Basic database concepts. Why are they important? What is base database in short? And then database connection. I'm going to discuss them. Database connection. After we finish these two, maybe next time, maybe next online class, I will discuss some easy. Next step is creating a simple database. You can use dbeaver. dbeaver is a simple database creator. You can download that one if you are using one application. You can also use that. After we finish talking about this, maybe not this session, maybe next session, I'm going to discuss how to work with dbeaver. Today, I'm going to talk about these basic database concepts. Some of them you know, some of them you don't know, and then how to connect this. For example, let's say that you have a database, maybe you have worked on this. How to connect this Java-based database with some simple codes, how to connect it to your application. I will also discuss it today. So make sure you ask all your questions. After I finish, you can just discuss them. Let's start talking about database basics. Let me turn off my camera. Okay. Hope you can see it, all of you guys. Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Very good. I want to talk about basic database concepts. I try to write everything for you, since some of you might have a problem understanding some parts. I wrote everything in short for you, and after I finish the class, I will share these 2 files with one of your classmates so he can send the files to you if you want to use some codes. These basic database concepts, it doesn't have codes, some sentences, some paragraphs I will talk about, but the connection, database connection part, the second file has some simple codes I wrote for you using Java, JavaScript, and you can pay attention to them. So let's get it started. SQL Server, SQL is one of the basics you can use. I just wrote here that database system is an excellent computer-based record-keeping system. So in short, what is a database? It keeps your records, a collection of data, commonly called a database. So this is your database, the things, your application, the information, the data your application, your software needs, it is your database. It contains information about special enterprise, special things you want to share depending on your applications. You have a data sharing application. Pavel talked about this, which I think it doesn't need a database. Maybe it does. I'm not sure about this. Then Oleg talked about this drone configurator. Then it needs a simple database. It contains the information, the models about the body, about the computer, and all the system. He had created this, so he understands what it is. It maintains any information that may be necessary to the decision-making process involved in the management of the organization using your application. It can also be defined as a collection of interrelated data stored together. So if someone asks what database is, why do you need databases? It is a collection of interrelated data. We say interrelated data because all this information are related to each other. Later, while we are creating a very simple database, I will show you how to create this data and why they are linked to each other, why they are interconnected. We use this information to serve multiple applications. The data is stored somewhere in our database and it is independent of programs that you use in the data. So whatever you use in your application, your database information is independent from them. A generic and controlled approach, we are going to discuss them later. Generic and controlled approach is used to add new data and modify and change and get or retrieve existing data in your database. So we use generic approach, we will use controlled approach to change your data, work on your data, upgrade your data, get the existing data from your database. Step by step, we will discuss them. First, you need to know the idea about the idea, then we are going to discuss how to use them. The data is structured in a way to provide the basis for future application development. Remember that even if your application is changed, is upgraded, is developed, still you can use this data, this database, and you can also improve it and change it. There are some photos you can see. What is the purpose of database? These are some examples we will discuss later, like what is a record? It is about sales. What is a record? For example, data value. How are they connected? Step by step we will discuss. But purpose of database, why do we use? Some applications, they don't use databases. We will discuss, like this data sharing application doesn't need database. RFID travel, it might need a very simple database. Mr. Popov and Fyodor, they were working on this. This give a peek, nail appointment, Russian sites, Chatham Institute. Chatham Institute also maybe needs, maybe not. If you have some database, you can add some extra information for your application. This Ready Rock, this auction, all of them need a database to include some information, some photos, some pictures, some numbers, figures, videos inside. A database is often thought as a repository of information needed to run certain functions. You have some functions on your database, on your applications, but without this repository of information, without this data, it won't work. In a corporation or organization, we call it application. It would permit only the retrieval of data. In databases, when you are working on your database, you can make any changes you want. But while using your application, you can only get data. You cannot add anything to the database usually. It has to be separately somewhere else, not using your application. So it may be possible to search the database to obtain answers to questions or information for different purposes. I tried to write everything for you, so in case you had a problem understanding them, you can go over them again. These are basics. It's not very difficult or crucial to understand. In a typical file processing system, permanent records are stored in different files. Permanent. This scheme has several major limitations or disadvantages, which we will discuss. Data redundancy, we have problems like duplication of data again and again and again. Data inconsistency, these are the problems that databases could help. Maladaptive data, a data that cannot adapt new data or some applications or software you want to work on. Non-standard data, the data is different from your existing information and figures. insecure data and incorrect data. These are the problems we try to tackle, we try to solve using a database. A database management system, DBMS, can answer to all these problems as it provides centralized information control command on the data. We will just step by step, we will talk about that. So, abstraction, in short. Still, I'm telling you about these figures, how to include, how to change, how to manage, we will discuss. This is basics. A major purpose of a database is to provide the user, the end user, with only as much information as is required, not everything. So whatever you need, you can retrieve the data, requested data from your database, no more, no less. This means that the system does not disclose or does not give all the details of the data. Rather, it hides some details of how the data is stored and maintained and changed. The different levels of the database are implemented through 3 layers. So, in your databases, there are 3 layers, which I can show you. Internal layer, conceptual layer, and external level. These layers are different. The lowest level, the internal level, is closest to physical storage. It's like the storage, physical storage, like a memory. It describes how the data is stored on the storage medium, your laptop, your hard drive, or something. It describes how the data is stored. We will discuss it while you are creating your database. After that, we have this different level. This layer is conceptual. It describes what data is stored in the database. It also describes the relationships that exist between the data. At this level, databases are described logically in terms of simple data structures. Users at this level are not concerned with how these logical data structures and it will be implemented at the physical level. The external level is closest to users and is related to the way the data is viewed by individual users, the end users. Remember that since the database can be seen, can be viewed through 3 levels, these layers of abstraction, any change at one level can change different levels. So databases continue to grow, you add information automatically or manually, there may be some frequent changes to it sometimes. This should not lead to redesign and re-implementation of the database because you will add different layers, basic information and data to different layers. So the concept of data independence proves beneficial. Data independence, you need to hear this in different layers, in different levels, because you cannot just design a new one. If you want to upgrade or make some changes in your application, the data will remain the same. So in short, we are talking about this. The concept of database now. I wrote 7 of them. To store and manage data efficiently in the database, we need to understand the 7 key terms, 7 important terms. One is database schema or schema, the design. It is a design of a database. We can say that it is a skeleton of the database, the bone, the main bone. This is used to show, to represent the structure, types of data that will be stored in rows and columns, constraints, relationships between the tables. I said relationship between the tables, they are connected to each other. For example, I need to, when we create the database, it will be easier for me to discuss it. But for example, there is a number, there are some columns, and there are some lines, as you can see here. And they are connected to each other. How? This ID, for example, I talk about the sales. Maybe we are going to just create something like this. This consumer ID or customer ID is in different tables that you can see. In some of the lines, you have different information. In some of the columns, you have different information, but they share this customer ID in different tables. So they are connected. When I say they are connected, I mean this. In short, so database design is the skeleton, rows, lines, columns, by rows are lines, columns, constraints, which we will try to discuss, and the relationship between the tables. Number two, data constraints. In a database, sometimes we put some restrictions on the table, restrictions, limitations, at what type of data can be stored in one or more columns of the table. Only, for example, you have to introduce this data constraints. In this column, only numbers will be stored. In this column, only letters will be stored. In the other one, both of them will be stored. In another one, photos with specific format will be stored. This is data limitation, data constraints. Constraints are defined while we are creating a table. So when we create, we talk about these data types, data constraints in different columns. While you need to understand them. So when we create some basic, some easy database, you will understand these constraints. So first, this is schema, everything inside this, the design of this database, then data constraints, what kind of data could be in different rows, in different columns in the table. And we have to just define them while creating our database. So number three is data dictionary or metadata. We call it metadata in all databases you can use. In short, if I want to say, metadata is data about the data. Or we can say that the database schema, along with different types of constraints, both of them 1 and 2, in this data management system, is called metadata. The different types and their connection is metadata. So the information about the data itself is metadata, data dictionary. Again, while we are creating, we will discuss them more and more. Here, I just want you to know the names, what parts they are, and what things, the tasks they are responsible for. Database instance. In your database, a database instance is used to explain complete database environment and its components, its pieces, its parts, elements, or we can say that a set of memory structures and background processes that are used to access to database file. We call it database instance. We just discussed the names. We will, while we are creating, we are going to see all of them. Query. A query is really important. It is like an order. We call it query. We use a query. We need to write a query to access some specific data in your database. So users have to write queries like requests to retrieve, to get, or to change data, manipulate data from the database. So query, you remember database schema, you remember these things. Data constructions, the types you understand. Metadata, you remember the names, database, instance, and query. Query is request for the data you are going to write. For example, if you want to, if you want to access to a photo, you need to write a query for that. It means you ask the database to send you, to show you this photo or specific information. Data manipulation is number 6. Data manipulation is working, changing, some data. We can easily manipulate or change data using 3 main operations. Insertion, it means adding data. Deletion means deleting data, omitting data. And updation, it means updating the data, the existing data. So data manipulation, working on your data, is through insert, delete, and update. Remember, insert, delete, update. Very easy. Now, data engine. It is underlying component that it used to create and manage various database queries. How are you going to manage these requests with data engine? Using different types of database creators, you will have some different engines. We are going to talk about these concepts, then later you will see how they work. So far, guys, do you have any questions, please, about these basic sentences and words about databases? Any problems so far? Everything is okay? Guys, can you hear me?
No, I don't have any question
You understand.
so
All
far.
right. This is simple. And I will share all the files with you. So let's continue again. Nice. Any questions? I will see here. I will send you the files. You can take a look. But the main thing is starting to work with them. Advantages and disadvantages of databases. I'm going to just talk in short. Let us consider of some of the positive pros or advantages, and then about some problems. It reduces database data redundancy. This using a database. It can control data inconsistency. The database facilitates sharing of data, making it easier to share your data. It enforces some standards you will need in specific applications. The database can ensure data security, integrity can be maintained, and for systems with better performance and efficiency, database systems are preferred. As I said, some applications, some systems, they do not have a database. But if you use this, it will help your application and software work more smoothly under some standards without the problems of data redundancy. The disadvantages also, there are some disadvantages using a database. Security may be compromised without good controls. As you remember, we need to control our data insertion, updating, deletion, and this control sometimes compromises the security. Integrity may be compromised without good controls. The good controls refers to the controlling of your database regularly, making changes, deleting extra files, and adding, updating some new data into your database. Extra hardware may be required. This is a disadvantage depending on your database. Some databases are absolutely simple, and using your laptop, you can control them. But for some of them, which contain a huge amount of information and data, you need some extra memory, different computers, which could be seen as a disadvantage. Performance overhead, also it is important. Overhead, you are familiar with performance overhead when you ask too much work from a limited system, and the system is likely to be complex. Of course, this is a disadvantage because with database, your system, your application will be a bit more complex, but I suppose it is totally worth it. Normalization, these are the final concepts of this matter, normalization. This is the process of organizing the database to minimize redundancy. We call it normalization. And dependency by breaking down complex tables into smaller, more manageable ones. In your database, you will have many different tables. Many different tables you will have. But if some of the tables are too big, too long, and you can break them into smaller tables, manageable tables. It will help you to use your application in a more useful fashion. It helps you to create efficient and scalable database. A scalable database is a database you know exactly all the information about this, and you can make it bigger or smaller. It is scalable. It means you can delete some tables, you can delete and eliminate some information that you don't need, or you can add or upgrade the existing one. It is scalable. So this is normalization. You have the ability to work on your application, data, and database the way you want. It reduces data inconsistency and duplication because every different parts have their ID, and this controller, the database controller, will tell you about this duplication or extra redundancy. And it makes it easier to update and maintain the database over time to keep it working. This information is often skipped, and people do not pay attention to this in these introductory materials because it can be technical and complex, but it is really important. It is crucial to understanding how to properly design and keep your database working. In short, we discussed what important parts of this database you need to know. Now I suppose it was really easy. We are going to discuss the second part. Now we discuss database connection. Let's see if we can see. Guys, can you see my screen? Can you still see my screen?
No, I can't.
Okay. Hmm. In here, again, before discussing the creation of databases, we try to talk about how we can connect our database to our application. Let's talk about this connection. For example, you have some tables. I talk about this one because you might use different applications. You might use different programming languages. Some of you, I remember that said that many of you, most of you that could work with a language, programming language, you mentioned Java. So I just try to talk about some basic commands that you can connect. Let's say your database is finished or you have a database. There are some templates, samples. Let's say it is ready and you want to connect it to this application. Let's first talk about this. In later sessions, we will be able to discuss creating a very simple database. Now we talk about database connection first. It is finished and you want to connect this. Because it could be one simple table, depending on some of your applications. It could be some simple table. How to create a database connection. Let's say that I have my table, my simple database, like about this drone configurator that Oleg talked. It could be 1-2 tables with some information about different parts. Let's say how we can create this connection between our application, web-based cell phone, and this database. Java database connectivity is a standard API, or we can say an application interface application interface present between the Java programming language and various databases. Your databases could be like created using Oracle, SQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, or dbeaver, which we will discuss. dbeaver is easier to work with, so I will try to discuss creating easy and simple databases using dbeaver. Anywhere you can. This database connectivity is API for Java is easier. It basically connects the front end. So what does this do? Your information is completed, whatever you wanted to use in your application. It connects the front end for interacting with the user, like the thing that user can see, end user. With the backend, the backend is the application you write the codes for. Backend for the creator, for storing data entered by the user in the table details. Means you want to do something, you want this data do something, you need to just connect your database to the front end, backend and front end. JDBC or Java Database Connection Creator is a database, creates a database by following these steps. Import the database, load and register drivers, create a connection, create a statement, execute the query, process the results, and close the connection. These are 7 steps I'm going to discuss with examples. As you can see, all of them with examples, the 7 steps, how you can write in this Java language. So you want to create, you get some information, create something from your, connect your database to your application and get some commands. Import the database again. You have to just understand them. They are really easy. The first one, step 1, import the database. Java is, I try to just be as simple as possible. And then I wrote the syntax for you. You can check for yourselves. Those who can use this Java, you can just check for yourselves. Java consists of many packages. It's inside, this is built inside Java. It consists of many packages that make it easy, ease the need to hard code every logic. So you can just write them yourselves, or you can use the Java package built inside this. It has an inbuilt package of SQL that is needed for JDBC connection, or like Java connection. The syntax is this: import java.sq1 asterisk and this. This is the syntax for importing the database. This is the first step. You write this command for importing the database. Let's go talk about step 2. The step 2 is load and register drivers. So first you want to import the database. After writing that, the syntax is load and register drivers. This is done by Java virtual machines. There are different machines, but usually the standard one is on Java while you are writing, that loads certain driver files, specific driver files, into secondary memory, your computer, your system, that are essential to the working of JDBC. The syntax is this, and I will discuss this syntax with more details. The syntax is this: for name. This class.forName method is the most common way, is the most common approach to register drivers. So again, first you need to import the database, then load and register drivers. And for loading and register drivers, you use this command, this class.forName method. It is common. It dynamically loads the driver file into the memory easily. It loads the driver file into the memory, which I will show here. It's an example. This is step 2 is an example of how it's done. If you can see this photo, this picture, tables, sample 1, this is the name of my database, and there are some tables, sample 1, sample 2, whatever it is. We will create this. You will see this is easy. Many of you, I think, can work with this. Creating databases are really easy. You put different information in different columns and lines, you will see, and now you want to connect it to your application. You write this try class 4 name. It's Oracle. Mine is Oracle. I write this command, catch this system out, like print in and system exit. Here, the Oracle database is used. You can use whatever you want. dbeaver, Oracle is easier, you can see. dbeaver is easier to create, so I just used whatever I had, and I took a photo from this. We will discuss creating together. Later, we will discuss how we can create this together. The Oracle database I used. Let us consider a random example of like hotel database management. This is about a hotel. Applying SQL commands over it, naming this database as sample. You see sample 1, this sample, and then table, sample 1, sample 2. These are the information from this hotel database management. Name of the people, name of the workers, rooms, depending on what application you use, you have different information in your database. In a hotel database, it could be some photos of different rooms, number of the rooms, size of the rooms, the facilities that are offered in the rooms. In your tables, you are going to insert them. We will discuss this. So if you understand this, you can now put it in your application. This is for a hotel. It's a database as simple. Now, suppose the user starts inserting tables into it, and they are named as sample 1 and sample 2. You are trying to insert more information, more tables into it. You use this. If you can read Java, I wrote this in Java. I will send you the files after we finish the class, and you can check in Java and see how they work. This first step 1, this syntax, this import, this load and register, and also the things. Connection class. We create a class named connection. We want to connect our database to the application. Importing does all SQL classes, import Java SQL, public class connection. You know that we have different classes. This is a public class, not a private one. Public class connection, object of connection class, initially assigned null, connect con null, public static connection. I hope you can read this Java codes. If you need help, I can just work with them in class so you can understand how they work. But this is the code I have written, and it works. Then we talk about create a connection. So again, we start with import the database, load and register drivers like this, and then create a connection. Creating a connection is accomplished by this method, get connection method in Java of driver manager class. For example, it contains the database URL, username, and password as a parameter. These things are my parameters in JavaScript or Java. Database URL, username, and password. These are our parameters. The syntax is public static connection, get connection. This is a string URL, string username, string password, and throws SQL exception. This is an example for this. Here, the database URL looks like this. I know this JDBC, Oracle, thin at Amrud, like this. I just put some name. Geeky Girl, Geeks, like they are this name, the username, the password. I put in here. It is the syntax, and this is the example. So Here, I'm trying to create a connection. Creating a connection is accomplished by get connection in Java, and you need database URL, your username, and a password in order to use this specific application. This was step 3, creating a connection. Now let's discuss step 4, creating a statement. Query statement is query. You remember when you want this application to do something, it is a query because you need some information from the database query request. Query statement is created to interact with the database by following the proper syntax. I try to write some syntaxes and some examples for those syntax. Before writing the query, we must connect the database, like step 3. We connect the database using connect method like this. This connect DB, string SQL, select from customer. This statement basically shows the contents of the customer's table. What is in the customer table? What is in the workers table? We have some different tables in our database. We can also create a statement using the create statement method in Java of the connection interface. Here, the object of the statement is mainly responsible to perform, to execute requests, queries. The syntax is public statement, create statement, throws SQL exception, and the example is statement S, CONN dot create statement. This is for Java. So create a statement, step by step, we will talk about this. And while we are creating, while we finish the application, we will show one step by step how it works. Step 1 is execute the query. So in step 4, you create a statement, you create a request, and in step 5, you execute the query. You do whatever they want you to do. You need to just create this application so that you will understand how this execute works, how this query process works. For executing the query, we mentioned before, we need to convert the query in JDBC readable format. This format is different. For that, we use this prepare the statement function in Java. And for executing the converted query, we use the execute query function. These are functions in JavaScript. In case you want, I can just create the same things for Python. Some of you can use Python, can write codes with Python. I can create the same thing using Python for this statement interface. It returns one object of RS. It's an object which is used to find all the table records. For example, the syntax is this: public RX, execute query. It's a string and throws SQL exception. This is an example. P and RS to execute query. You know some JavaScript, so you will understand these codes in Java if they work in Java. Our step 6 is process the results. It says process the results. Now we check if this RS, this method, is not null, means it will work. Then we display the details of that particular customer present in the customer table. We created the table, and in this function basically checks if there is any record that helps us satisfies the query. We ask for some information. It's a query. We have a statement. We try to process the result in step 6 to see if it is not null, means the information we want exists in our database. It's not empty. So means there is a record for that in our database. If no record satisfies the condition, then it returns null. It says this is there is no information about that query, means it failed or no information is in the database if it's null. If it's not, it will give you the data you wanted. You made a query for. And this is the sample code in Java, like this while, this ID, this RS, string name, string email, stuff like that. It is an example. You are looking for a username, you're looking for an email. If it's in your record, in your database, it will return the information to you. If not, it will return null, means there is not an information like that. So after you connected this, after you created, you need to, as a final step, you need to close the connection. After all the operations are performed, it is necessary to close the JDBC connection. After the database session is no longer needed, you have to close it. If not explicitly done, then the Java, this garbage collector, does its job for us. This garbage collector closes it for us. However, being a good programmer, let us learn how to just talk about this, how to close the connection of this JDBC. This garbage collector closes it for you. But if you want to close it yourself, if you are a good programmer, you need to close the JDBC connection with close method. This close method in Java closes this connection. It is like that. The syntax is public void close throws SQL exception, and the example is con.close. The thing I wrote here, it is a piece of code you could use if you want to close the connection. I wrote this step 1, step 2. Here's this command is used to store string data type. This is one example. Still, since you don't have this database, you might just test to see if this command piece of code works or not. We will just discuss it when we try to create a simple database. Let's say that we have a very simple database, one little table with some information, with some lines and with some columns, and we want to connect that database with our application using Java. That's why I wrote all this data, all these codes in Java. This is the example. You see, guys, this is the example of my database. This ID, name, and mail ID. You see, very simple. You see, it is absolutely easy to create with different database creators. It's a table. So you see that I have an ID, I have a name, and I have a mail ID. Like some 4 names I just wrote here. And then they have 4 IDs, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is really simple. Then we have an email ID. Depending on your applications, you are going to have more columns, more tables, bigger tables, more complicated tables. And then I try to just close this connection using this application, this piece of code in Java. All right. Guys, do you have any questions regarding this? You need me to share the files with you again in case you wanted to just talk about everything? Mm-hmm. In short, let's talk about some mobile app ideas that will inspire you in 2023. Then we will continue. Take a look at these ideas again. Then I will ask some questions from you. All right. This is in short. Let's also discuss this. Last session, it was incomplete, so let's talk about this now. This is some mobile app ideas that will inspire you here in case you haven't chosen or you want to change this. Why mobile apps for business? The mobile app is the most potent business tool in 2022 and 2023 so far, and there are plenty of reasons for it. More than 65% of people are using mobile to go online, so these applications could help you with different platforms. If you can see in 2020, 2014, 15 until 19, it's going up and up. The mobile platform provides you with the most effective way to work upon your business idea in an era where mobile app development interlinks, connects every little aspects of our lives. This can be really, really good ideas for you. So let's talk about this. This analytic, these numbers from wheresocial.com, you can just go there yourselves, shows the growing penetration of internet across the world. The penetration is above 85%. More than 85% of people are connected to the internet every day to do their tasks. Your applications could help them with different tasks. Yours could be specific to some companies, to universities, or some people, like all the different companies. The mobile share of internet time is crossing 50%. Now it is more than 50%. The mobile share of internet time, 50%, is going up and up. In short, some ideas I was going to tell you. This major business sector, which are promoting their business throughout mobile apps, are social media, tourism, retail means shopping, like this Ozon, Wildberries, classified service, like the services you need for this drone configurator, production stages for this auction. These are all for classified services. Entertainment, like this Give a Peek or these Russian cities which you talked about. Restaurant, like fitness club, hotel and resort, bars, small businesses, non-profit, and automotive sectors in businesses. So if you don't have idea, a product, a service, or even a utility could help you because it is growing more and more. So in case you wanted to change some ideas to start working on different applications, these are just some ideas for you. It's an example. The app will include the list of verified home chefs who are experts in particular dishes. Let's pay attention to see how interesting the idea is. This is really interesting. Who are experts in particular dishes. Users can rate the chefs and make a list of the most loved chefs for different dishes. This app will be suitable for urban customers, city customers who are missing their home. So this my personal chef, you can order some food from like home baked food that could be really interesting. Some of you, I remember, talked about ingredients, giving ingredients to our application, and the application can give you away. These are some interesting ideas. This app will be suitable for urban customers who are missing their home. The app can integrate booking the chef, sharing location of the user, and providing the roadmap to the chef to like locate the user's apartment. The app will better fit the iOS app store, as the target customer are likely to be well off and from developed countries. So this is like something that we can think about. Cities are magnets like that attract people. So developed or developing the city is a space of very high population density. It makes a space the most valuable asset. This is another one, parking space. The name is a space. This is really important. It will have some prerequisites like setting up parking spaces, identifying the peak hours, congestion area, where is full, where is not. This can use GPS traffic analyze. You can connect to Google Map or different application. You can add this application. This is another idea. I see that there are heavy traffics, for example, in Irkutsk in some time, and it can help you find a parking space, like reserve a parking space. It can be the for right herbs. Many people live in apartments and they are interested in growing, in buying, in selling some flowers. It can just help them find the things or buy or sell the plants they want. This, you remember, this is one idea. I propose an app that has a respiratory, this database of all the home remedies. You understand? Like these plants, some of them could be used as drugs, medicine. And in your database, you will be able to add all different types of medical plants that can be grown in city, in apartments, or in some different places. In case you needed them, you can order them, you can buy or sell them. This is another idea for these herbs, like mainly classified on the geographical and cultural lines in different places. People use different herbs, people use different plants in case they have, I don't know, headache, stomachache, or problems like that. The current location details will sort out the kind of medication the user can try out. In some different parts, you know that people cannot order some specific remedy or drugs. It can also need to classify remedies based on symptoms and illness in your database. So in your database, you need to enter some symptoms. It's like for your database, some symptoms. And then in this part, you will write another ID name if the person has these symptoms, I don't know, headache, like fever, like coughing. Example, it says that you might have a slight cold and this remedy, this plant can help you, or you can buy this. So in your database, you are going to, in the tables, you can add this, or you can add some photos as well, the photos of the remedy. These are some ideas for this. Share a book. I saw this social media like app. It is for book lovers. And you can share your books. You can get from some books from others. I understood that in Russia, people like reading, and it can just help you if you could create an application for between students in different places. You can just start sharing your books, sending them, receiving some books. It would be like a nice platform. It is a sharing platform for readers who are happy to collect or share their books. The users will register apps by like declaring the books both online and offline. They have online books like ebooks and real paper books they have. The app allows readers from that location, your chat location, to arrange meetings, conduct literally like meets about different books. The app allows readers to make an online repository of ebooks and facilitate the exchange of printed books. You can take some, you can give some. This app better supports with using iOS. This is the app I saw is iOS. So share a book, it could be a really interesting idea. This AR carbon print, this is also something because we have problems with pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution. The role of citizens in pollution control is really important, is paramount. My next app idea is a tool that makes every person conscious understanding about the carbon footprint they are leaving behind by buying some stuff, by buying, I don't know, cars, different fast food, cell phones. They might like electronics. They might understand the amount of carbon footprint they are leaving. For this, you need to create a database. It needs only some photos maybe and some exact information, updatable, upgradable information about the amount of carbon footprint created by developing, like creating a car food, electronics, cell phone, book. It will give some awareness. A few words of the carbon footprint for some, like if you are new, you don't know, it is the amount of carbon that we release into the environment, into the air, community or our companies in our countries and cities. The app idea involves a scanner. It's like a scanner that needs the users fingertip assistance. You put your finger here. Suppose you are burning coal, for example, for fuel, or it's an idea. You are burning gas. You want to know the amount of carbon footprint it leaves. You can circle the activity on your screen like this. This is like the scan. And identify the action, like burning this much gasoline, this much coal, this much gas, how much carbon footprint I release to the air. Activities that are unknown to the application database will need your assistance. It means you can add some information, you can give the information to the data, and the creator, the developer, can put it in their database if the information is new. Like if you want to buy, for example, a t-shirt, to create that t-shirt, how much carbon footprint was, carbon dioxide was produced. You can just make some research, some analysis, and enter that, add that, insert that in your database. So to be more eco-friendly. So these are some information as an example. The percent, space cooling, computers and electronics 6%, space heating 45% carbon emission in our lives, lighting 6%, others like cooking, refrigerators also are important, wet cleaning, this is 3, and water heating 18%. This is for example. In different applications, there are different places for you to in different websites also, and some organizations provide you with some information about the amount of carbon footprint you give to the air by doing some different activities. So I wrote this information about food, about home eating and heating and cooling, other home energy use. We give to the air, we emit this much carbon dioxide. It's an example that could be useful. It could be a good idea to create some applications, informative applications. Now it is your turn. In this next session, I want you to talk about some ideas and your project reports. As you remember, some of you might want to change your application idea. Some of you want to just create something. 2 or 3 of you haven't talked about your ideas. Like these are some names I came up with: Pet Fit app, book review, sports app, Find Flexible Work. Like Find Flexible Work is also interesting in for students. It is a flex time. Like someone says that today I need you to help me for 4 hours, tomorrow 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. This is flex time, so it could be useful for you. Places not to visit, it is an application. Some of you talked about Give a Peek, Russian cities and stuff. Places not to visit, it is funny because I thought these ideas were new. Places not to visit, not places to visit. Don't go to these places for different reasons. Maybe they are not safe, they are boring, they are expensive, there are no good facilities, etc. The brand authenticity checker, it is also a very good idea that for an application, in your application, because all of them have barcodes, they have names, they have some codes, some information. You can check for the buyer whether this brand is original or not. Like easy. App for the colorblind, this is absolutely something that could help you create something who cannot see the colors in a good way. Restaurant app, salon app, which nail appointment is one of them. You try to just create that. Song for your mood app, when you are sad, when you are happy, when you're stressed, when you're relaxed, what kind of songs you want to listen. And all the data, all the information could be stored in a simple database or in a big database, depending on your application. Expiry date tracker, quickly it will tracks the expiry date of products. And toys giveaway application. This is also a very beautiful application that you can give away, you can donate the toys you have to other children, to other families they need. These are some ideas, just only ideas I just gave you, if you want, in case you want to create. So guys, that is enough for today. Now guys, could you please download this dbeaver? Let me show you this dbeaver. Give me a minute. Open this dbeaver for you. Let me share this. Is a free database manager. Let's open, then I will share it with you. It takes some time. Mhm. Mhm. Simeon, Delphi is also okay. This is I wouldn't say this is old. I would say many people, Simeon, use Java or Python. It is easier to use, and this is more common. Delphi is also a nice, depending on what application you need to create, you need to decide. But again, I would say Java and JavaScript, Java and uh, Python. If you are new, if you want to start using, I would say Java and Python. And the reason is that there are many applications, there are many websites, videos they can teach you using Python and Java in a few weeks. Like there are many different videos in YouTube you can just watch, and in different websites, there are absolutely different, various information about how to use it. If you ask me, I would say the new one. And R is another one. R is also a new language. R, Python, and Java, I would say. These are my choices, depending on what you think best. Delphi is also nice. Why not? You can just start using Delphi also, as I think it's a good language. And you haven't started yet, yes? So this Delphi uses, like, I suppose, I don't remember, I think it's Pascal based. Pascal is a bit old. If I remember correctly, you have to check yourself. This is a Pascal-based programming language, this Object Pascal. I don't know who created this, And one of the most obvious differences between this C++ and Delphi is that this multiple inheritance, Delphi is restricted to a single inheritance model, but C++ is a bit different from that. As you can see, guys, this is dbeaver. Screen share. Now, this is the dbeaver, guys. It is a really easy and useful database creator, database management. I want you to start and download this. Try to take a look at these different parts. Next 2 weeks, we are going to start creating something using this. It is not really difficult. Diagrams, tables, you know, everything you want, you can just create here using this. Short deal. Like these bookmarks, these diagrams, these scripts, connections, you can just write whatever you want, create this. Try to just use this to just play with it before I start creating an application with this. This is dbeaver. This Word application also can help you to create your databases. Take a look at these different parts to add some tables, to import, to export, to add some information to your database, to objects, to research about this. Try to take a look at them. So let me see. Applications could be more useful for us. I can start now, but I have another class in 15 minutes. So let us just start talking about this later. If you have any questions, guys, more questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Still here is enough for today. Next week, next Thursday, I suppose, yes, next Thursday, I want you to again come up with your reports, all of you. What have you done to create? You've talked about your ideas. 2 of you are left. I want you to report about your progress. I want this, whatever you have done, what changes you, because you talked about ideas. Some of you haven't started, just ideas. Some of you were collecting information, try to create maybe some database or some end user design. I wrote and I remember whatever you did, and I want to see the progress you have made, the problems. Talk about the problems and report your progress in PowerPoint. Okay, in PowerPoint. I just want to see what you have done. Some of you, if you want, you can change this. I want to see whatever you have done. I need you to collect some information. What information? Talk about the information or data you will add in your app and database. I just need you to talk about what you need, the information, the data you need for your application and your progress. By next week, if you finished your reports, we will try to work creating simple databases. About the connecting them in Java, I try to give you some simple codes, some simple programs, and let us discuss them next week in class. Do you have any questions? Try to download this dbeaver. This is, I think, the latest version. Let's see this dbeaver. Where is this? Beaver. Download. It's here. You can use to download this dbeaver. Yes. This dbeaver is really user friendly. It is user friendly and you okay, this is dbeaver. I want you to download this, and I think that is enough for today. Guys, do you have any questions so far? Any changes in your app ideas? Any questions regarding your app ideas? Okay, good. I'm looking at information about the language. All right, Simeon, you will find it really useful, I think, I hope. If you have any questions, guys, I'm ready to answer before we go. So, guys, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Questions, guys? So, Oleg, how is it going?
Questions.
Yeah, about your application, how's it going? Are you still working on that? This drone configurator? Do you have any problems, or you want to just talk about this next week in the class in your report? Okay, you can talk about this in your report. Guys, have a nice day and thanks for listening. I talked a lot, but thanks for listening. Next week in class, we will discuss all your applications and what you have done. Don't forget to send me the progress of your work, progress of your project, all the problems, what you have done, the changes you have made, and where we are standing. I want to see what you have done. If you teamed up, if you need some help, we will discuss it next week in class. Have a nice day and thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a nice day, dear. Have a nice